exactly 26 minutes before we get to 3 o'clock, where we want to be making way for the Young and Free Drive. I don't know if it's Anele or it's Bonyiwe Mahlaba. So right now it's career mode with Jack. We're speaking to the pilot Ntombi. So we just wanna like, why don't we have more female going into aviation?
We didn't before, but here we are now. So
Yes.
it is, like I said, it's very difficult. Even when you start training, it's not an easy. It's not. There's a lot of fun in it, but I literally didn't have a life for about 2 years because it was something that you both have to do your exam side of it and you have to do the practical side of it. You know. So, and I think also because we were never exposed as kids. I didn't grow up saying I want to be a pilot, because I didn't think it was something that was reachable. So when now, like for myself, I do a lot of career talks at schools just to encourage the young kids and show them. But you'll be very surprised to know that they still don't think it's something that's reachable. You know, the young black girls at schools, they think that you associate a pilot with like an old white guy with the white beard pulling the bag at the airport. You don't think that it's something that you can do. But I mean, there's a whole lot of ladies that are joining now. There's a lady by the name of Naomi Pate, where she actually just did a campaign to try and raise funds specifically to fund female up-and-coming pilots, you know. So if they're trying to get sponsorship from companies, whatever it is that they can get.
Yeah.
So it's actually just up to us to try and get the word out and assist whoever wants to be in the space and just to give them whatever experience we've had while we were training. For those that are already flying for airlines, they're always available to answer any questions that anybody has. But it's slowly but surely we're having a lot more women that are taking on the reins and sitting in the cockpits.
All right, let's take a short break and then we're gonna come back to speak more to Ntombi.
About education.
Caps Radio and Education is certainly where you at. That's why we're doing this thing called a career mode right here on Caps Radio every Wednesday with Jack. So you can stream us live on www.capsradio.co.za, or you can come through on all our social media platforms that at Caps Radio SA, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Or if you have any question or comment or compliment for Lerato, for Ntombi, you can come through on 0812785685. You know, so let's go on with the interview, because I've seen that it seems like we have a question on social media here on my WhatsApp. Someone asking that where to start. You know, that's the question. You know, like some people might think that it's a stupid question to ask, but then people are always asking, where do you start? Like first step taking into going into aviation school, like where do you start?
I think it's a very, very good question, actually. For me, you start with, if you are currently in high school, you need to start disciplining yourself. I know it's a cliche, but mathematics opens a whole lot of doors. And I know that not everybody can be as good, but it is a practice subject. It's something that I didn't think I'll ever use solving for X in my career, you know, but it's something that, because I had done it in high school, it made sense. It's something that it shapes your logic, your way of thinking. So where you start is currently where you are, just trying to fine-tune your math skills and your communication skills, because it's in that industry we need to communicate. There can't be any gray areas. If I tell somebody this is what's happening, because of the safety method that is implemented, you need to know. I can't be, there's black and there's white, there's no gray. So you start by fine-tuning your results so that you put yourself in line, because if there's 100 people that want bursaries and only 10 will be awarded, they're going to look at the top 10 people. They're going to look at who worked from and the consistency of their marks. So you start by fine-tuning your mathematics results, because that's when you'll be eligible for bursaries, and you'll see a whole lot of doors opening for you if you've got those subjects that these people want, because they've got the money. They just want you. They want to know that you'll pass. They want to know that if they spend $500,000 rands on you, at the end of the day, you'll come out with your 3 bars.
Let's talk about the communication. I mean, we talk on a daily basis with each other and we think the way we talk is fine, but how different is it communicating let's say, for example, a traffic controller talking to a pilot? How is that communication based? Do you guys have your own language?
We speak English. We speak English, but we have certain ways, certain phrases that we use. Like for instance, if I were to say caps, I'll say Charlie Alpha Papa Sierra instead of CAPS, because sometimes it doesn't. You don't hear it the way you say it. You know, so we have like phonetic alphabet. Is certain terms. It's a lot. You get to learn them with the trade. Even now, I communicate with my pilots at work. There's certain ways that I speak to them. Like, you know, yes is not yes. You say affirm. When you say no, you say negative. So you know, it's the language that aviation language that we have. But it's English. It's standard all over the world. It's because obviously a Chinese pilot flying into South Africa can't come here and speak Mandarin.
Yeah.
They have to speak English. So everywhere in the world, the standard language is English, and then we obviously then add in our aviation terms in there just to make things clearer, so there's no ambiguity in statements or in instructions that are given. So yeah.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the air traffic control. I mean, they basically manage the planes that are in the sky, right? And how difficult is that?
I think it's one of the most difficult jobs in the world, purely because essentially you've got so many people's lives in your hands. You know, the pilot has his passengers in his hands. So if you are flying 180 passengers, you've got 180, it's a lot of people. But as the air traffic controller, you've got 180 times 30, because you could be controlling 30 aeroplanes at a time, you know. So it's a very stressful job, but also a very humbling one. I've got friends that are still there now, and we often obviously talk about the experiences, and it's something that you obviously get used to with experience, but it's not an easy job. It's something that you have to be on your toes all the time, because it's good and nice when everything is going according to plan, but should there be something wrong, you need to think on your toes. So yeah, it's not easy.
You spoke earlier about incidences and accidents and hazards. What are the differences between those three?
Okay, firstly I have to mention aviation, guys. Flying is the most safest mode of transportation, right? So if I talk about accidents, I don't want people to think they don't want to fly. But you get incidents, like for instance, if you landing and you land it too hard, then your tire will burst on the runway. That's very, very dangerous, because like your car, if you in motion and your tire bursts, you know, you can lose control. So things like that happen, you know. So I mean, South Africa, we have a very good safety record. You don't really hear of a lot of accidents, but unfortunately in the past couple of this year, we've had a couple of students, one that I knew personally that had the aeroplane crashed and they died. But yeah, like I said, it's just one of those things. I mean, it's like when you're learning how to drive, there's a hazard in that. In as much as when you're learning how to fly, if something happens, like your engine stops, although, like I said, they teach you how to restart your engine mid-flight, you know, or to land on the highway. I think you've seen articles of people landing on the highway. But yeah, so then the incident is when there isn't any, like it's not that as bad as an accident. The accident is when something actually happens. If the plane crashes, or if I was taxiing and then my wing hits the other aeroplane's wing, that's an accident, even though there's nobody that died there, you know. So it's you get then people from the Civil Aviation Authority that do the investigation. So hence I'm saying aviation is very, very, very broad. You can choose a whole lot of sub things to do. You don't necessarily have to be a pilot. You can be an accident investigator. You can be, they come in and they audit us, so you can be an auditor. You can be in law. There's a whole lot of money in that, I understand. So
what's the biggest stereotype you've heard about aviation?
The biggest is thinking you'll die when you take the plane.
Yeah.
People literally sit, they'll board the aircraft, and just before we have to push, they will start screaming and having all these, you know. So it's like first time flyers. You have to calm them down, and sometimes, well, if he wants to get off, we can force him to travel. But There's, I think a lot of stereotypes are being broken by us females. You know, the biggest one was also that it's a male thing. Like, men, that we're here to break all of those stereotypes and to encourage our kids and the generations after us to know that if you get into this space, it's very well worth it.
All right, so it's 15 minutes before we get to 3 o'clock. So we're going to take a short break and then we'll come back to speak more to Ntombi about aviation, flying, and a whole lot more, because it's exciting that, as she said, now a lot of women are getting into this space of aviation, because back in the past, like, we never had a lot of women in it, but then now the fact that we have enough women going into aviation, it's actually an exciting thing, something to at least smile about, because you know that as women in this country lately, you've been under a lot of attacks, so we want to come back to speak more about even those attacks, so you can stream us live on www.capsradio.co.za, or you can come through on all our social media platforms. We are interactive there. It's at Caps Radio SA, or you can simply send us those voice notes on 081 278 5685.